So 32 years ago, 1988, did you think you'd still be here 32 years later doing stand-up?
I didn't.
When you were doing those arenas, what the fuck was... You're like, when is this going to end? When is this madness going to end? Does it ever end?
Well, I did. I remember being, like, we were doing, I think it was I called it To the Max, when Max was born, you know. And it was a tour. Like, I had to come up with all these names for tour. And I go, I'm good for this till about 40. That's how I looked at it. Like, to do those kinds of things. Then I didn't know what I wanted to do, you know. And I was only like 32 at the time, something like that. You know, it was just a lot, you know. And I'm going, like, this kind of energy, like, to just keep blowing this kind of energy out. But, you know, I knew I would do the stand-up. I didn't know how I'd feel about it, but I would be interviewed like that. People would go, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years ago, 10 years from now? And I would talk about probably more movies. You know, that was more of the going to be the stepping stone of what I wanted to do. But, you know, I went through a lot of blackballing because of the controversy of Dice. All the stuff that the comics are dealing with today, I went through alone. You know, I was the only guy getting attacked for my language and my subject matter, you know, and the only one that, you know, ever stood up for me was Eddie Murphy. You know, every comics I knew, that's why I say there's no fucking friends. I'd see him on morning shows bad-mouthing me. Going, I'm buddies with this motherfucker. You know, it was unbelievable to see all that go on, but it wasn't going on to the country. It was going on to me. It was an attack on me. And I would just get angrier, and then I would get nastier on stage. You know, like my gay material back then was just funny jokes. But as the media kept attacking, I'm like, well, I'll just give them what they want now. You know, and that's where I came up with, like the jokes were funny because I would talk about, I don't even do it anymore. Like, what was the gay jokes? Well, like I talk about the transgender thing today. I go, but years ago I called them trans testicles. You know, you meet the girl. I said I would talk about the gays and the bis and, bisexual, you either suck dick or you don't suck dick. What do? Wake up in the morning, flip a coin, heads I want, hair pie, tails, balls across the nose. And then you got these other things, I go, these trans testicles, you know. What is this? You meet the girl of your dreams, you wine her, dine her, take her home, you put your hand up her skirt, you're holding a tree trunk, you know. So back then, the half chick wasn't popular. You know, like nobody even knew what the fuck it was. So people would come after me for that, you know. So now I do a whole bit with, you know, of course, Caitlyn and that whole thing. And I go, but when I discussed this years ago, you know, I was just looked at like, what the fuck is this? You know, but I saw it all coming, you know, and I was just under constant attack. So then I added on, I go, and then, you know, when they get the AIDS thing, you know, they can't figure out where it came from. Because now I'm angry at the press. Now I'm going to do nasty stuff because the trans testicle, the bisexual, it's all fun bullshit jokes. But now I go, so then they get the AIDS. Oh, I can't figure out how I got there. What do you mean you can't figure it out? You're walking around with shit on your dick. You're bound to pick something up. You know, and that's when the media would go fucking berserk on me because AIDS was just happening. And, you know, and I'm like, hey, you're going to fucking come after me like this. I'm not going to show you any side of Andrew. It's all Dice now. Fuck yous all.
How did Eddie stick up for you?
Oh, Eddie came out on Arsenio and said, I don't care what anybody says about him. He's the funniest guy there is. I'm going to see him at the Forum. You know, it was pretty amazing because he also pulled. Eddie used to come over to me. See, I'm glad what's happening for him now, you know, because he's the greatest, you know, from movie star to comic, just the greatest. I'm driving down over Laurel Canyon, like going towards Melrose. And Trini's with me, and she goes, that's Eddie Murphy yelling. He was in a little Mercedes sports car convertible, and I'm in a 1970 Cadillac convertible, which you would love, you know. And he's going, pull over, pull over. And I pull on a side street, and there's a million cars coming. You know, it was great. Like, that would have made a great picture, you know.
Yeah.
And she's sitting in the car, and Eddie gets out going, don't you let them fuck with you. Don't you let them fuck. Because he used to come over to me at the Comedy Store. He'd come there with 20 guys when he was, you know, working on his stuff, you know. And he'd walk away from his entourage. He just dug me, you know, and what I do. And then when I took off, it baffled him. You know, like he even said to me, he goes, how do you draw 20,000 people a night? Because it just wasn't something comics did. And he's about as big as it would get. He did, like if he did the Garden, he did like his concert in the, it was called the Paramount at the time. It's 6,000 seats. Carlin did a concert there, did a special there. I did the sports arena. I didn't do the small room, which was amazing to do that room. But comics weren't thinking, oh, I'll go into the big room. You know, I'll go into the basketball arena. So he goes, how do you sell 20,000 seats a night? I go, what do your movies make, you know, $400 million? I'll switch. I'll switch any day you want, you know, because he was amazing to me, you know, and still is. Like, I love what I would call his resurgence now, because we all know Eddie Murphy doesn't need money, but if you're in this business, you like to be relevant, you know? And like, to me, that was even the thing when I took Roseanne out with me. It's like, she never has to work again as far as money goes. But what they did to her, I felt was just wrong, what the network did. And she just wants to feel relevant. So that's why I started doing some shows with her. That's what that was about.
Did you watch Dolomite?
Yeah, I watched half of it. And I love it. I loved it. It was just, you know, my house is like an after-hours club. My sons are up like all night. And we started watching the Dolomite at 2:30 in the morning. So, you know, at about 3:30, I'm tired. So I want to, you know, go up, you know, and get stoned out and whatever, you know.